What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to KO with Kyle. I'm your host, Kyle. Today we'll be doing a forecast and recap. It'll be a recap of UFC 261, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2. And it'll be a forecast of UFC Fight Night, Dominick Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. So without any further ado, there's a lot to get into, so let's break into it. Starting off the prelims of UFC 261, there was like 3 Chinese fighters. I don't know if they were all making their debut, but they were relatively new fighters. 3 in a row that were introduced all lost. Lian Na lost by TKO to Ariane Carnelossi. Arichi Lang at flyweight lost to Jeff Molina, a unanimous decision. And then at lightweight, Rong Zhu lost a unanimous decision to Kazula Vargas. At bantamweight, we had a pretty awesome knockout by Dana Batgarel against Kevin Natividad. And then at featherweight, pretty good match between Connolly and Sabatini. Sabatini just out-wrestled. He outworked him in the first 2 rounds especially, so we got the unanimous decision. Next, at middleweight, we had a really good one with Brendan Allen versus Carl Robertson. Once Allen got into the ground, he really had the advantage. He got a submission win. I think it was like a knee bar or a heel hook. Next, at welterweight, we had Dwight Grant versus Stefan Sekulic. Sekulic got a late takedown that might have stole round 1. Sekulic almost got a guillotine at the end of round 3. I thought the fight was pretty close. It ended up being a split decision for Dwight Grant. Some people think that's a big robbery. Next at welterweight, we had Randy Brown versus Cowboy Alex Oliveira. And Randy Brown won by submission with a rear naked choke. He looked really good. Next, we had Jimmy Crute versus Anthony Smith to start off the main card. And Smith just landed a devastating, really well-placed leg kick right above the knee. And it hit some kind of nerve that shut off Crute's leg. He couldn't even stand on it. He couldn't walk back or forth on his foot in between rounds 1 and 2. The doctors checked it out and tried to make him walk, and he couldn't walk on the foot. So they called the fight off. It was a TKO for Anthony Smith, who got destroyed by leg kicks by Rakic and then comes back to win by a leg kick against Crute. So congratulations to Anthony Smith. Next at middleweight, we had Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. They had fought much earlier in their careers. It was just a sad, really horrific fight because Chris Weidman threw one really hard low kick and it broke his leg, and he went to step on it and he couldn't, and it was just, they instantly ended the fight, and Uriah Hall never threw a punch or a kick or anything, and he won by TKO. And so at flyweight, we had Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt against Jessica Andrade. Surprisingly, Shevchenko had the wrestling advantage. She really had the advantage everywhere. She got multiple takedowns round 1, I think up to 5. Body lock takedowns into a crucifix position, punches and elbows, cut Andrade. And in round 2, Shevchenko won by TKO. Next up at strawweight, defending her belt was Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas. Rose just set it up with the jab, but then finished with a really nice, well-placed head kick, KO, and knocked Weili down, and she just finished with some punches to get the stoppage. And Weili acted like it was an early stoppage, but she was definitely out from the kick. And then in our main event at welterweight, we had Kamaru Usman defending his belt in the rematch against Jorge Masvidal. And it was kind of a close round 1. I mean, Masvidal wasn't doing too bad, but Usman is just really proven himself to be one of the most dominant champions. Outside of John Jones, he is the most dominant champion. Outside of Shevchenko, I guess you could say, and Nunes and John Jones. Kamaru Usman is definitely making a name for himself and wanting to defend his belt often and putting away all the guys at welterweight who were the top-ranked guys. So he just landed a perfect straight right that knocked out Jorge Masvidal, who had never been knocked out in his career, and got an early stoppage, and a dominant performance for Usman. And overall made for a really great pay-per-view and just a really extremely memorable pay-per-view, UFC 261. And it delivered. All the title fights were finishes. Nothing went to a boring decision like a lot of people thought. It was all finishes all the way through, so it was great. And moving on, we will forecast UFC Fight Night Reyes versus Prochazka. It's a 6-fight card. Starting off the main card at women's flyweight is Poliana Botelho versus Luana Carolina. Both have wins and losses in the UFC. I don't really have too much to say about this one. I think they, hard to say, might be evenly matched, but I'm picking Poliana Botelho. Next at bantamweight, we have Merab Dvalishvili versus Cody Stamann. Merab is one of the best wrestlers in the UFC. Stamann has fought the higher-ranked opponents. Merab has 5 wins in his last 5 fights, and Stamann has 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw in his last 5 fights. I'm picking Merab Dvalishvili. Next at middleweight, we have Sean Strickland versus Krzysztof Jotko. Strickland really impressed me against Brendan Allen when he got the TKO. Jotko impressed me against Eric Anders, where he got the unanimous decision. Strickland has 4 wins in his last 5 fights. Jotko has 3 wins and 2 losses in his last 5 fights. Essentially just because of the Allen fight, I'm picking Sean Strickland. And then next at light heavyweight, we have Ion Cutelaba versus Dustin Jacoby. Cutelaba lost twice to Magomed Ankalaev. Once he was wobbled, but it was kind of an early stoppage, and the second time he was finished by KO. Jacoby has 2 wins in his 2 UFC fights since his win on the Dana White's Contender Series. Cutelaba grabbed Jacoby's neck at weigh-ins, so I'm biased. I just really want Cutelaba to lose, so I'm picking Dustin Jacoby. In our co-main event at featherweight, we have Giga Chikadze versus Cub Swanson. Chikadze's on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC. Cub has notable wins over Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira. Both fighters are coming off of knockout finishes. Giga is dangerous with his kicks, but I feel like Cub will have the advantage on the feet. I'm picking Cub Swanson. And in our main event at light heavyweight, we have Dominick Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. Reyes really came close to beating John Jones in his title shot. Reyes has notable wins over Ozdemir, Weidman, Jared Cannonier, and OSP. Jiri's one UFC fight was a KO over Volkan Ozdemir. Jiri has lost in his amateur career, while Reyes was undefeated up until the John Jones fight. I'm picking Dominick Reyes. Kyle's Fight Picks. Kyle's Fight Picks, I have Poliana Botelho, Merab Dvalishvili, Sean Strickland, Dustin Jacoby, Cub Swanson, and Dominick Reyes. Tune in next time as we recap this fight night and forecast the upcoming fight night. And please subscribe if you haven't already so that you never miss our timely content. Until next time, fight fans,